Hi everyone, welcome back to Rosie Jones Locker. Good to have you back on board. In this video, the third and final part of episode 2, Reef Fish Trippin, I'm going to show you guys how I fillet 3 of the fish species we caught in the first 2 parts of the episode. If you haven't watched the previous 2 parts of this episode, you're really missing out on some great fish being caught and some of the other antics that went on when we were out fishing. Before filleting each of the 3 species, there's a recap of the fish actually being caught, just to relive the excitement. I title these episodes Reef Fish Trippin because it is a natural high, going out in the ocean, middle of nowhere, no land in sight, catching magnificent Australian reef fish. If you like what you see in this video, guys, hit that subscribe button. Now let's get into some filleting.
Nannygai! That's what we want. Get a load of that fish. That's awesome. Beautiful. Great job, Shane.
Because we're keeping the fish wings from these fish, I do some preparation while the fish is still intact. For ease of cooking and eating the fish wings, I like to remove the pectoral and pelvic fins and scale the wing area on both sides of the fish. A quick hose to wash off any loose scales from the fish and filleting board. I begin the filleting process by making the first incision at the soft dorsal fin. I find this to be a good starting point. I then cut along the back towards the head of the fish. Cutting the fillet clear of the head, I continue making small knife swipes across the backbone down to the spine and commence manoeuvring my way over the rib cage and spine. I angle my knife down over the spine, keeping as close as possible to the bone on the belly side of the spine and clearing the fillet from the tail. When making my way over the rib cage, I run into the pin bones. The pin bones are fixed to the rib cage and will require some effort to nick through them. Once I have negotiated the pin bones, I continue a swiping motion with my knife, clearing the entire fillet from this side of the fish. A nice fillet of nannygai. I begin the second fillet in the same area as the first, making an incision at the soft dorsal fin, then cut along the back towards the head of the fish. The second fillet can be a little more difficult to remove, due to the fact there is no fillet to support the other side of the fish. With the fillet gone, the thickness of the fish head creates an uneven lie of the fish body on the filleting board. As seen here, I spend a little more time clearing the fillet from the backbone on the second side, before making an incision to separate the fillet from the head of the fish. Although, it's basically the same filleting process as the first side. Again, as I did on the first fillet, I continue making small knife swipes across the backbone, angling my knife down over the spine, keeping as close as possible to the bone on the belly side of the spine. Then making my way over the rib cage, nicking my way through the pin bones. I continue a swiping motion with my knife, clearing the entire fillet from the underside of the fish. Another nice fillet of nannygai. The first part of taking out the fish wings is identifying this bone, which is attached to the fish head and overlaps the top of the fish wing. Place your knife between them and slice up towards the top of the fish head. Next, depending on where you made your incision to separate the head from the fillet, there may be a rib bone attached to the wing that you will need to separate from the wing, as seen here. Now you can cut between the wing and the gills, pretty much separating the wing from the fish head on this side. The other side is a repeat of the first, and then you start trimming away any gut, etc. from the wing as you pull the wing toward the chin of the fish. With one little nick under the chin, the wing is removed from the fish head. I usually cut the wings in half, just to make them easier to manage when cooking. This can usually be done with a knife, however in this instance I didn't cut the wing perfectly in the centre and I needed the snips to help cut them in half. I like to keep the fish heads for crab pot bait. I separate the frame from the head, leave the gills attached but trim away any gut etc. And you're left with a nice clean and easy to tie in crab pot bait that can last for a couple of tides. When removing the skin from a fish, I start with the knife a little in from the tail of the fillet. This gives me an edge to grip and I hold the fillet with the tips of my fingers. I commence skinning in a scissor motion, with the knife slightly tilting downward, slicing between the flesh and the skin. When I have partially removed the skin, I can now get a decent hold of the skin with my non-knife hand and push and slice with the knife. Depending on the size of the fillet and the knife you're using, you may have to reset the knife position a few times, repeating the process of pushing and slicing your knife, with the knife slightly tilting downward to totally remove the skin from the fillet. Toward the head end of the fillet, you may notice the knife hit pin bones. The pin bones pass through the flesh and are attached to the skin. So as to have a boneless fillet, I remove the pin bones. The row of pin bones can be felt and seen at the bottom of the thickest part of the fillet, running back into the bloodline of the fish. Slice down each side of the row of pin bones, folding them back into the bloodline as far as necessary to remove them.
Oh my God! Hey, what's up, fella?
I wanted a trout, hey?
I wanted a trout.
You wanted a trout, but I talked about catching a trout out here. Woo! Hey, I knew we'd get a trout out here somewhere. It's been a long time since I put a trout on the boat. Got a good one though. Nice fish. Beauty.
Although the fins and scales are somewhat smaller on a trout compared to, say, a nannygai or a red emperor, I do the same preparation to the trout wings while the fish is still intact. As with most reef fish, I begin filleting the trout by making the first incision at the soft dorsal fin, cutting along the back towards the head of the fish, and then cut the fillet clear of the head. You will occasionally see me run the knife blade over the edge of the filleting board. I'm clearing the fish scales that I've cut into and are stuck to the blade of my knife. I continue making small knife swipes across the backbone down to the spine and commence manoeuvring my way over the rib cage and spine. When making my way over the rib cage of the trout, I nick through a few pin bones. The pin bones are still fixed to the rib cage, but are fewer in number than a nannygai or red emperor. Once I have negotiated the pin bones, I angle my knife down over the spine, keeping as close as possible to the bone on the belly side of the spine and clearing the fillet from the tail. I begin the second fillet in the same area as the first, making an incision at the soft dorsal fin, then cut along the back towards the head of the fish. As with most fish, the second fillet can be a little more difficult to remove, for the reasons I stated earlier when filleting the nannygai. It just means spending a little more time clearing the fillet from the backbone and making sure that I get as much meat as possible before making an incision to separate the fillet from the head of the trout. Again, it's basically the same process as the first side. A good angle showing my non-knife hand holding the trout fillet back, allowing me a better view. As I continue making small knife swipes across the backbone, over the spine and rib cage, and nicking my way through the pin bones, clearing the entire fillet from the underside of the fish. Like the nannygai, you need to identify this bone to commence removing the trout wings. Remember, it is attached to the fish head and overlaps the top of the fish wing. Because I make an incision between the gills and fish wing when I bleed my fish, this part of the wing can already be separated from the fish head as illustrated here. On the other side of the wing, repeat the process of identifying the bone that overlaps the fish wing and separate them. Remember, there may also be a rib bone that needs to be cut away from the wing, depending on where the incision was made to separate the head from the fillet. Cut between the wing and gills, then start trimming away any gut, etc. from the wing as you pull the wing towards the chin of the fish. Cut under the chin and the wing is removed from the fish head. Fish heads for crab pot bait, separate the frame from the head, leave the gills attached, but trim away any gut, etc.
Hello, Christian.
Done.
I'm giving it to you. Making you work for it.
Oh, it really is.
That's a nice Ephra. That's him, get him in the gills. Can't get away there. Don't worry about the blood and the pain. Woo! Get a load of that. Hey. Oh man, that's beautiful. Hey, never caught a red emperor before. How many have you got this trip?
3 already now.
3 already. So you've never caught one.
Out of the 3 fish I filleted in this video, I find red emperor can be the most challenging to fillet, particularly when they are up around that 800mm mark and bigger. Their pin bones are like small steel pickets. In the past I've used tin snips to nip through their pin bones rather than destroying the edge on a knife. When filleting red emperor, other than their pin bones generally being harder to cut through, I follow the same filleting process as I did with the nannygai and coral trout. That's a lovely fillet of fresh red emperor. As you can see, I have a little bit of difficulty cutting through the pin bones on this side. Another good example of identifying the bone attached to the fish head which overlaps the top of the fish wing. Simply place your knife between them and slice up towards the top of the fish head. And then cut away the rib bone attached to the wing. Repeating the process on the second side. When I cut the wing exactly in the centre, the knife easily cuts the fish wing in half. When removing the skin from a red emperor, again I start the knife a little in from the tail end of the fillet. This gives me an edge to grip and hold the fillet with the tips of my fingers. Because the red emperor has a deeper fillet, I have to reset the knife position a few times, pushing and slicing with my knife slightly tilted downward to totally remove the skin from the fillet. Towards the head end of the fillet, the knife hits pin bones. The pin bones pass through the flesh and are attached to the skin. Ensure you have a good grip on the skin with your non-knife hand, reset the knife position if necessary, and continue to push and slice with your knife. To have a boneless fillet of fish, I'll remove the pin bones. The row of pin bones can be felt and seen at the bottom of the thickest part of the fillet, running back into the bloodline of the fish. Slice down each side of the row of pin bones, following them back into the bloodline as far as necessary to remove them. good example of how and where I begin to skin the red emperor fillet, using a scissor motion with the knife slightly tilting downward, slicing between the flesh and the skin. Once I have partially removed the skin, I can now get a decent hold of the skin with my non-knife hand and push and slice with the knife. Resetting the knife position a few times because of the depth of the red emperor fillet, pushing and slicing with my knife slightly tilting downward to totally remove the skin from the fillet. Removing the pin bones to have a completely boneless red emperor fillet. Okay guys and girls, I've shown you how I fillet a nannygai, a coral trout and a red emperor. I hope it was helpful and you can use what you've seen in this video to fillet the fish you catch. Here on Rosie Jones Locker, I'm not the only one that can fillet a fish. Anyone can learn to skin, fillet, take pin bones out and remove the fish wings. To show you guys a different style of filleting, I thought it appropriate for Christian, aka #1 Decky, to fillet the red emperor he caught, and my daughter Tina will remove the pin bones and skin the fillet.
Getting closer. Worth having to measure, but it's going to be touch and go, I think, Christian, eh? Oh, you've got him. You got him, Christian. Absolutely. There. Falls out. Well done.
Christian begins filleting by separating the fillet from the fish head and then makes his way down the back of the fish towards the tail. Christian tends to slide his knife across the backbone down to the spine of the fish. Christian uses his non-knife hand to fold the fillet back so he can have a good view of where the spine is and start manoeuvring over the spine and rib cage. Once over the spine and rib cage, Christian keeps as close as possible to the bone on the belly side of the spine and clears the fillet from the tail. Beginning in the same fashion as the first fillet, Christian separates the fillet from the fish head and then makes his way down the back of the fish towards the tail. Holding the fillet back so he can have a good view of where the spine is, Christian starts manoeuvring over the spine and rib cage. Keeping as close as possible to the bone on the belly side of the spine, Christian clears the entire fillet from the fish frame. Identifying the bone which is attached to the fish head and overlaps the top of the fish wing, Christian places his knife between them and slices up towards the top of the fish head and cuts between the gills and the fish wing. My daughter Tina has had quite a bit of practice removing the skin and pin bones from fish. As you can see, she follows the same process as I follow. Well guys, that's a wrap for this video. I hope you enjoyed the content. If there's something you've seen on this video and you want to know more about it, drop a comment in the box and I'll definitely get back to you as soon as I can. If you like what you've seen in this video, hit that subscribe button and the Rosie Jones Locker crew will catch you on the next one. Cheers.